A massive outcry of people, trade unions, environmental groups, even conservative leaders. And yet, in the year 1989, former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher sold off Britain's water industry. She privatised it. Cut to 3 decades later, today UK's water sector faces its biggest crisis since. Its companies are drowning in debt, a debt of $76 billion. The largest one, Thames Water, is in emergency talks with the government. Water bills in England have increased by 40% since privatisation, and they may further rise by 40% in just the next year, all while the country faces a sewage scandal. I could go on, but you get the picture. Things are bad. For a service as essential as water, is privatisation to blame? Here's a report.
Before we begin this story, let us tell you about Thames Water. It is UK's largest water company. It has regional monopoly in the country. Thames serves a quarter of the population, some 15 million customers. But now it is on the brink of collapse. This water company is drowning in debt, worth $12 billion. So it is drawing up emergency plans, thinking about going into temporary public ownership. You see, UK's water sector was privatised 3 decades ago. Now it faces a terrible state of affairs. It has accumulated a debt of about $76 billion. And the story of Thames only goes to show the great failures of privatisation of water. Because these companies have prioritised their investors over the needs of both people and environment, who have to pay for this crisis of water. Quite literally, their water bills have increased by 40% since privatisation. And all of this as UK faces a cost of living crisis. British inflation is skyrocketing. It was expected to fall, but it held at 8.7% last month. The inflation is proving very hard to bring down. So squeezing UK households are tapping into their savings. Last month, they withdrew money from their savings at a record pace. They drained $4.7 billion from savings. And this crisis seems to be hitting both rich and poor. Reports say King Charles has ordered to turn down heating at palaces. Why? Because royal spending has hit $135 million. Buckingham Palace's net expenditure has risen by 5%. So the king too has been forced to dip into his reserves to cover costs of a year high on royal activity. Now, if one holds such an extravagant archaic ceremony during UK's tough times, such a scenario isn't unexpected. While some held over-the-top luncheons during their ceremonies, others are going without food. Because this crisis is affecting millions across the UK. With 86% of police officers and staff facing financial concerns, thousands in the force are missing meals due to the lack of money. The Met Police has claimed that their police officers are turning to food banks. And the soaring costs of food are harming children's health, who are suffering from worsening levels of tooth decay, anxiety, and stunted growth because of this crisis. And as people feel the squeeze, some are trying to turn the tables in their favour. Insurance fraud has soared by 61%. People are faking injuries and losing their jewellery on purpose to apply for insurance or claim it twice. So will the situation improve in the near future? Experts are unsure. But here are the facts. Successive interest rates have been hiked since late 2021, and more are still in the pipeline. Water companies plan to increase the prices by about 40% in the next year. Now remember, that's how much the prices have increased by in the last 3 decades. But now the Britons await this triple threat within the next year. So while UK crisis targets the vulnerable, companies like Thames try to stay afloat, with Britons struggling to pay for it.